Hi team, I hope you are well, fine and good. So let us begin the session regarding the cloud, which is prominently playing a major role in IT industry, and each and every one who are into the field of IT, into the field of security, are discussing about what is this cloud and how it has been using. So I will come up with a different session about this, but even though you can search different kind of browsers, different kind of YouTube channels where they have explained in details about that. But here I will be discussing about the Claude desktop, which has started reportedly adds browser access, which bridges to multiple Chromium-based projects. So here we'll be having that discussion and what are the different safety concerns behind that and how this bridge makes user without friendly access gaining their privacies or hampering their privacies, or you can say security protocols, and everything will be discussing in detail. So please stay tuned and watch the video till the end, get the latest update regarding what the security researcher has analyzed and how the cloud desktop reveals an undisclosed system level access or changes that eventually create a persistent communication. Okay, so it creates a communication or a bridge between the AI, app and major Chromium browser or major based Chromium based browser. Okay, which eventually, raising a very serious concern about the transparency, security, and privacy, which plays a major role here. Okay, so let us proceed further and discuss in details what actually here. So, what was actually discovered? So, here I have displayed that the security researcher named Alexander Hanoff, okay, who had conducted a detailed analysis of the Mac version of Cloud Desktop. Okay, he has analyzed the Mac version or iOS version of the Cloud Desktop, where he uncovered behavior that were never clearly communicating to the user. Okay, so the behavior was flagged publicly, okay, raising a significant concern across the cybersecurity community. Okay, so coming to the background system change here, what actually done here, that the app performance system level modification during installation without user awareness. Okay, so without any interference of the user. Okay, so the app performs a system level modification, okay, even during the installation as well, then after non-disclosure to the user. So these changes were not clearly discovered yet. Okay, so a major, transparency issue was actually a standard here. So then after public facing or public flagging, okay, the finding were even triggered a website or anthropic installation. So these are the public flagging where it becomes a serious concern where your data can be publicly hampered or publicly disclosed. Okay, so coming to what is the browser access bridge? So here you might be having a question regarding what actually this browser access bridge is all about. So at the core of at the very core of this disclosure, right, or the discovery of this bridge. So it is called a mechanism of native messaging, okay, where a standard Chromium feature, okay, repurposed to grant Claude desktop elevated access beyond the normal browser boundary. For example, if I start say normal extension has sandbox, restricted browser context, local app system level privileges, file and command access, native messages bridge, that is all about the communication channel between extension and app. Okay, so this is the bridge which comes into play or comes into role. Okay, normally if I start saying that the extension, right, the extension are restricted inside the browser sandbox with no OS access. Okay, they are being restricted with this bridge. Okay, extension communicates directly with the system level processes. Okay, so bypassing the sandbox restriction. Okay, so this result in high privilege that a normal extension with a very high intention of giving access to the user or giving access to publicly or giving access to the cloud, okay, to execute local commands, read the files, any kind of automated activities it can perform. Okay, so affected browser. What are the different affected browser that comes into play with these bits? So the bits configuration files were discovered across 7 major Chromium based browser, okay, which are installed, which has eventually been installed broadly and primitively, regardless of the whether they are being user, whether they are having a user activity uses different kind of browsing features that are being installed in this Chromium based browser, like even we can say Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Bravia, Opera, Vividal, Arc, and Chromium. So here the key issues which lies here is that the installation is broader and primitive. Okay, even if you do not use some of these browsers, okay, bridge file may even still be created, okay, when you use the Claude in the OS. So coming to key behavior during installation, which plays a very important crucial role. Why? Because what happens silently? Because you do not have any awareness what's going on in your backend, right? So similarly, what happens actually in the backend processes or during any sort of installation? Okay, so during installation, right, the Claude desktop eventually configures files. Okay, it actually configures the files into the browser, okay, or you can say browser directions with the no permission pop-up, or you cannot be having any pop-up like to grant access to deny it. So no clear documentation provided to the user yet. So then after no user content consent, okay, zero prompt or opt-in dialog are shown during the process. Even self reinstallation persistence, if a user manually deletes the bits, the app automatically recreate it, a hallmark of persistent mechanism. Then after malware link, so this behavior mirror persist. If any kind of vulnerability been discovered, then you will become a bait of this and your data is no more. Okay, so technical working, how the bridge operates. So we need to discuss it as well, right? So a native messaging, host manifest, okay, like com anthropic dot cloud browser extension JSON is created defining a slowed extension ID and pointing to a local helper binary. Okay, extension request, route to binary, execute operation, return responses. So the manifest file defines which extension ID are permitted to communicate. Okay, the path to the local executable, helper binary. Okay, the scope of allowed system, interaction. So these are the manifest file actually been defined. So critical, the workflow bypass normally browser boundaries entities grant the local binary, captures and beyond what actually the standard browser future extension actually has. Okay, which I have stated earlier, the normal browsing feature. Okay, which has extension sandboxing, but here we do not have that. So here the extension request, then route to binary, then execute the operation and return the response. Okay, so here the technical workflow of how the bridge actually operates. Then after security risk introduced, what are the different security risks here been introduced? One is sandbox escape. So browser isolation is weakened. Okay, so extension can directly access OS level resources that should be completely off limits. Privilege escalation is also placing a very important crucial role. Attack surface expansion, it can expand the browser plus extension plus native host plus app means more potential entry point for any kind of threat actors. Prompt injection risk, very 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 important, because the malicious web page could manipulate the AI, into a trigger unintended systems, level commands. Then after a novel or serious attack vector can be created. So privacy concern. So what users are not being told about what actually happened. Silent file creation, no content, no documentation, self resistance. So what user expected. So transparent installation, explicit consent, clear documentation, user control. But here the opposite had happened. No consent at all, no documentation at all. So here the cross app integration between the Claude and browser, persistent system, hooks that service the deletion. Along with that, the data exposure placing an important role, background monitoring and possible theoretical risk. So here the the criticize or the critics have labeled the behavior undocumented and spyware like due to the combination of the stealthy installation and self reinstallation persistence, which plays a very important on privacy concern. So why this is a serious, why this is serious trust boundary cross. One is application isolation violation. Application is really been isolated without user consent. Uh, they have been observed this breach. User consent violation, enterprise risk and compliance issue. So these are the different serious concerns which we need to understand, which we need to have a clear documentation in the process, and we need to recorrect it as soon as possible. Okay, so I will be ending here, you folks. I will not be taking much of your time. Hope you have clear idea about this. And let me end the video here itself for you. Thanks a lot.